Alright folks, we're going to take a moment here to document a recent amplifier that I built. Basically it is a pentode and 6cm6 output tube amplifier with pretty simple circuit based on a Aircastle 79A schematic I found. Of course, if you're going to use that schematic, keep in mind that the depiction of the pot connections and locations isn't correct. You have to fix it. I also modified this one with a 1 meg ohm pot, and I also removed the 250k resistor heading into the input grid of the 6v6 tube, in my case a 6cm6. As you'll see, this is a amplifier that has both a speaker in it to be used as a practice amp, and it also has a speaker out jack. It has a simple input. It has an inline fuse in it. The power transformer came from a web core tape unit. There's your on-off switch and your 3-prong cord. The case is an old Admiral radio that was trashed, and I decided to, of course, make it look more stylish and whatnot to accentuate its visual appearance. It's a pretty simple circuit, again based on the Aircastle 79A, which is very similar to the Silvertone 1301, and it has a 6SJ7 preamp tube and a 6cm6 output tube. In terms of the output and the overdrive, it's not the hottest amplifier in the world, but it does have a unique sound. I'm going to demonstrate it real quick with a Mexican Telecaster with humbuckers on the bridge position. And right now we're going through a 2x15 stump cabinet. It's a pretty good grind. Very thick sounding overdrive, kind of bass heavy in my view. It doesn't knock you over with treble like some of the other well-known amps from that period that are iconic status these days. Of course, that's the bridge pickup. This is the neck pickup. Kind of mellow, and this is cranked, of course. Lower, you can get clean tones, and actually if you turn back the volume on your guitar, you can get clean tones that way. So it does clean up a little well, pretty well. And it has kind of a limited range of sounds, but if for the demographic it's in, being a practice amp, you know, small, close to 5 wattish head. It's pretty good for that. So the amp itself has about 300 volts B plus. It's using silicon diodes. Does not have a rectifier tube, and you know it's pushing about 5 watts. I will say that this is the result of about a month long of going through various amplifier designs that have pentodes in them. Of course, mostly American tubes like 6 SJ7s, 6 SH7s, 6 SG7s, and of course 6 AU6s. I did have a prior build that sounded pretty good with the 6 AU6, but I had issues with noise. So the 6 SJ7 is a pretty good candidate for use in a guitar amp. It was used in hundreds of PA amplifiers and instrument amplifiers back in the 1940s and 50s, and it's just an overall well-balanced tube for the purpose. There's also the predecessor tube, the 6J7, which has a grid cap on it. I have a couple of those, and I'm thinking about doing an old school build with those. I mean, this is quite old school as it is. So it gets fairly decent overdrive. You're not going to play heavy metal with it, but for an amp like this in a practice space at home, you know, the internal speaker I have been using for playing lap steel and sitting around and just kind of jamming and stuff. Overall, I would say the effort was worth to build it. It's always more expensive to build your own amplifier, but keep in mind too that you have control of what the final result will be. And if you have radio cases from back in the day and chassis like I do, since I kind of collect vintage electronics and work on them in my spare time, it made sense to repurpose this as a practice amp and head. So hope you enjoy the video, and if anyone has a real Aircastle 79A, you know, feel free to leave a link to some pictures or something. There's actually no pictures I could find of that amplifier online. The only thing is the Sam's PhotoFact, which I mentioned is the place where I found the schematic, and then of course that the volume pot is not wired correctly on there. So you'll want to pay attention to that if you go and try to build the circuit. At any rate, I decided to build the Aircastle circuit in this chassis because it was an old radio. Aircastle is a well-known name in the vintage radio community. It was also Spiegel's house brand, kind of like Silvertone was Sears' house brand. At any rate, hope you enjoyed the video, and until next time.